Welcome to today's explainer. If you've ever kept an aquarium, or honestly, if you're just fascinated by how biological systems tick, you already know a tank isn't just a glass box full of water. It's a highly sensitive, tightly woven aquatic ecosystem. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating mystery straight from an aquarist's journal. It documents a sudden, totally chaotic tank collapse. We're going to explore how one simple, easily made oversight can throw an entire ecosystem completely out of whack, and, more importantly, how to fix it. Let's get right into it.
So picture this. You've just carefully set up a brand new aquarium. You've added the water, introduced your fish, and you're expecting this vibrant, lively display in your room. But you walk in the next day to find a completely different scene. The water is turning super cloudy, there's this strange, thick green tint taking over, literally coating the glass. And honestly, the most alarming part? Your fish have seemingly vanished. They aren't swimming around, they're just gone from view. You really have to ask yourself, why are the fish hiding? What invisible force just turned their brand new home into such a hostile environment?
Well, our first major clue comes directly from the aquarist's journal. The fish weren't just hiding at random. They were strategically seeking out the absolute darkest spots in the entire tank, wedging themselves inside terracotta pots and burying themselves deep under coral substrates. Why? Because they were actively seeking a period of darkness to essentially hit the reset button and lower their metabolism. They were desperately trying to escape an environment that had become completely overwhelming to them.
Section 1. Anatomy of an algae bloom.
24. That is the exact number of hours that caused this whole ecosystem to collapse. You see, the aquarist realized a massive mistake had been made. This newly set up tank was accidentally exposed to 24 straight hours of continuous LED lighting. No night, no dusk, just relentless, glaring artificial sunlight pouring into this fragile underwater world. They basically created an accidental all-night rave for algae.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact recipe for a biological disaster. It's a simple but totally devastating mathematical equation. On one side, you have the excessive light from that 24-hour LED exposure. On the exact opposite side, you have excess nutrients floating around the tank. In this specific case, those nutrients came from unfinished fish pellets. When you combine relentless light with leftover food rotting in the water, you literally create an all-you-can-eat buffet for algae. Fragments of algae just start to form and absolutely thrive under these conditions. This is the exact catalyst for a severe algae bloom, which gives you that aggressive green water that just relentlessly coats the glass.
Section 2. Disrupting circadian rhythms.
Now, the green water, that's really just a symptom of a much deeper issue. What continuous light actually does to a living creature. We all have a circadian rhythm, right? It's that 24-hour internal biological clock that dictates when any living thing should be active and when it desperately needs to rest. By leaving those LED lights on for a full 24 hours straight, the natural rhythm of this tank was completely shattered. This is exactly why we saw those fish desperately hiding in the terracotta pots a minute ago. They were artificially trying to create the nighttime that their biological clocks were screaming out for, just so they could finally lower their metabolisms and get some rest. And this biological toll, it ripples across the entire tank. It wasn't just the fish suffering here. An aquarium is a shared, deeply connected ecosystem. Those 24 hours of light disrupted the circadian rhythms of the plants and all those invisible microorganisms too. When the microscopic balance of an ecosystem fails, its overall defenses just drop. This biological confusion at the microscopic level is exactly what paved the way for those algae fragments to take over so aggressively. The entire system was just exhausted and totally out of sync.
Section 3. The Tank Recovery Plan. Okay, so now that we've diagnosed the collapse, we need to shift gears and get this ecosystem tightly managed again. The source material outlines a fantastic, really concrete recovery protocol to reverse this algae bloom and save the tank. Let's walk through this step-by-step intervention because it's super actionable. Step 1. Fix the light. The LED needs to be installed correctly at the top and put on a strict timer for just 6 to 8 hours of light per day. I mean, what a massive contrast from that disastrous 24-hour mistake, right? Step 2 is to immediately test the water parameters. Step 3 is installing a long-pending sponge filter to help physically clean the water. And Step 4 is conducting a partial water change.
Let's look a little closer at Step 2. What are we actually testing for? The author specifically notes the urgency of measuring 3 key parameters: ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. These chemical levels will tell you exactly how toxic the excess nutrients from those unfinished pellets have actually become. Plus, the timing of this intervention is anchored in real-world environmental factors. The aquarist noted that the rain had finally stopped and good, tropical sunny weather had returned. The environment outside the tank can actually influence the ambient light and temperature inside it. So that made it the absolute perfect time to implement that strict 6 to 8 hour lighting schedule and get a baseline reading on those chemical levels.
Finally, we have to look at the physical cleaning of the tank. To directly combat the severe algae bloom and that thick, pea soup green water, the protocol calls for regular, partial water changes. Specifically, you're removing and replacing about 20 to 30% of the tank's water. This is absolutely crucial to physically dilute those excess nutrients, manually remove the floating algae fragments, and significantly reduce all that cloudiness. It's really all about gently restoring balance to the newly set up tank without shocking the system all over again.
We've seen how quickly a thriving micro-ecosystem can descend into total chaos just by leaving the lights on for too long. It completely disrupted the fish, the plants, and the microorganisms, basically forcing the animals to hide just to find a single moment of rest. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We live in a world of constant screens, streetlights, and 24-hour illumination. If a disrupted light cycle can so easily collapse a closed aquarium ecosystem, how might our constant exposure to artificial light be affecting our very own biological clocks? It's definitely something to think about the next time you leave your lights on late into the night. Thank you so much for joining me today for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.